In 1947, Harry Truman addressed Congress. This is what he said. Yet in the minds of a great many of us, there is a fear of another depression, the loss of our jobs, our farms, our businesses. But America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. The job at hand today is to see to it that America is not ravaged by recurring depressions and long periods of unemployment, but that instead we build an economy so fruitful, so dynamic, so progressive that each citizen can count upon opportunity and security for himself and his family. I was pretty impressed when I found that, because I'm like 71 years later and there's still some truth that resonates in that statement, and it's really long, but actually it's quite a nice talk if you want to go look it up. But what really was sizzly about that particular was America was not built on fear. America was built on courage, on imagination, on an unbeatable determination to do the job at hand. And of course today's talk is about imagination. And so I love that, because he says that America, and we could just say that we as a society or we as a world, we were not built on fear. And you know, there's that great little saying that some of you may have heard. It's pretty common in Unity to hear that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. Fear is false evidence appearing real. And we were not built on that false evidence. We were built on imagination. Ooh. And so fear is a misuse of our power of imagination, right? Because when it looks real, that's our imagination convincing us that it's true. Another misuse of the power of imagination is worry. Because what is worry but seeing all the things that could be badly? James Dillard Freeman, Unity's poet laureate, said, "Imagination is the act or power of forming a mental image of something not present in the senses or never before wholly perceived in reality. A power that frees us from the limitations of our senses." Imagination is the act or power of forming a mental image of something not present to the senses or never wholly perceived in reality. A power that frees us from the limitations of our senses. Ooh, that's good stuff, right? But it can go either way, right? So we're in our 12 Powers series. It's a new month. It's June, if you hadn't caught that. And June is the power of the month of imagination, which is symbolized by light blue, which I think is great because light blue makes me think of blue skies like we've had the last couple days. And blue skies mean dreaming and imagining what fluffy clouds might look like and things like that. That's what it looks like to me. It may mean something else to you, but imagining what clouds could look like is one of the great exercises of our power of imagination, right? And so, you know, I always like to talk just a smidge about what the 12 powers are, and I had a new thought about what a new analogy for the 12 powers. It's like, they're like the spices in your spice cabinet. Oh, right? So you need all of them. Like, you're going to put more than one in a dish, right? Probably you're going to put more, but you might highlight a particular spice or two at any particular time. So as we're using our power of imagination, that may be the highlight that we're focusing on a particular time, but our dish is going to be a little yummier if we add a little faith and if we need a little will or whatever, you know. So there's like this, it's like a group effort. The 12 powers are a group effort, but sometimes we highlight different things, right? Einstein Einstein said, this is another quote that I've probably said before because it's such a great quote, to have someone like Einstein, imagination is more important than knowledge, for knowledge is limited, whereas imagination embraces the entire world, stimulating progress, giving birth to evolution. It's kind of the same thing James Philip Freeman said, just in a different way, right? And so that imagination power is our power to see the world we want to create. The world we want to create, the life we want to create, the consciousness we want to have. And we use it to see things beyond the senses, as James Philip Freeman said, to beyond what is known, as Einstein says. We use the imagination for what is beyond. Everything that's not mountains and trees and grass that you see in the world was created from someone's imagination. Everything. A car was created over many, an evolution of imagination. What would happen if we did this or did that? My outfit was created from somebody's imagination, somebody's imagination. Everything. My tablet, somebody's imagination. Many somebody's imaginations. What could be if we thought beyond, right? And so we want to, and so this is where the trouble comes in, right? Because, or can come in, because we get back to that whole worry and fear, right? Which are misuses of the power of imagination, because all of these divine ideas are neutral. They're just divine ideas. What we do with them is what creates something from them, right? So we have the divine idea of beauty, and we may plant a garden. We could have the divine idea of abundance, and we may share a meal or share our wealth or whatever we have. But we may have the divine idea of abundance and steal. Right? Because it's what's the filters we're looking at the world through that help us decide what we do with these great ideas. And so just as we can imagine, a world, a peaceful world that works for all, we can imagine harmony in all of our relationships, which are excellent things to imagine. We can also imagine a lot of other stuff. The what ifs. Isn't it funny that we use what if to think about the what if fill in the blank something bad, quote unquote bad, but we don't use, but what if it all turns out okay? What if I make the connection I need to make? What if the money shows up? What if the diagnosis is a lot better than I thought it was going to be? What if? Have you ever thought of what ifing the good stuff? Or what ifing where you want to go? That's what I thought. The talk title, how sometimes I come up with these things and I change my mind later, but what could be? What could be? What could be? Could be anything, any direction. So what do you want to imagine? Now, I'm not saying that it's not a good thing to have a fire escape plan. It's a good thing to know what you're going to do if. But just make a plan and then get on with your life, right? I think that's kind of you don't need to worry about it. You don't need to fuss about it. You have your emergency bag or whatever it is you need. And then You focus on all the wonderful, you focus on what is possible, what is next. Because, all the people who have had big dreams about what they want to have change in our world, didn't come from the limitations of the place that they were standing. It came from maybe a limitation that they were experiencing, yes, a desire for that to be different, but how did they even know that it was possible to do something different? Everything that's changed or created our world and our society, it happened from someone imagining that it could be so. We went to the moon because someone says, we're going to go to the moon. And the scientists at the time thought that was pretty crazy, but they still made it happen, right? Because when we all hold the dream together, when we hold it together, oh man, we can make things happen fast, which is pretty exciting. So what if we really held the dream, held the vision of harmony? So we use the word peace a lot, and I'm not against the word peace. I like the word, but sometimes people think of peace as being like all the time, everything being okay. And I think that might be a little unreasonable because we're still people. But what about an idea of harmony, where we can disagree and still get along, where there can be an opportunity for conversations and connections and disagreeing in love and all of those things in our world, where there's a balance, right? Because in music, which is where we usually hear the word harmony used, the dissonant chord is what makes the song so great, because then it resolves, right? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure we can pound some of those out a little bit later. But it's true, right? So we're looking for more harmony. So if we could really hold that vision and not say, well, we can only have harmony if so-and-so stops doing such and such. We can only have harmony if, Aunt so-and-so will stop picking on little so-and-so, because that is where the real problem is. Is that true? Is that really true? Can we have harmony even if Aunt so-and-so doesn't get her act together? I think the answer is yes. We can create that if we hold a vision for those kind of things. And so our imagination is looking for the things beyond our senses, looking for the things beyond what we know. We may hold the information of where we're at, right? But we have to look beyond that. And that's what's so wonderful about children, right? We know that children don't hold on to the limits of the world that they've been born into because they don't know them yet. What if we could take a step back and go into that place? The what if place. What if the grass was purple and the sky was green? Why not? What if we could talk to dogs and octopuses could walk on the land? I mean, whatever, why not? What if? So if we could break a little bit of that limit of how we see the world, those are kind of fantastical, fun things. But if we could break how we think the world is just a little bit and move beyond and use our imagination, wouldn't that be great? What we think we know, right? We could break what we think we know. Could we heal the world? Yes. The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Okay. So on the whiteboard that we had in our house growing up, where we wrote little notes about what was going on and who was going where, there was a quote, and I don't know where it came from or if my mom came up with it or whatever. So if it is someone other than my mom, sorry. But it said dreams come in a size too big so that we can grow into them. Because a dream that's a size that's easy to accomplish is not even worth the trouble. But if we can dream bigger than we think we can make it, then we can go to the moon. If we can dream bigger than we think we can make it, something even better than what we could imagine may appear. But not if we don't take a shot. Not if we don't imagine it. So, why not imagine a world of harmony where everyone has enough? Why not? I know, because my brain does it too. It might be saying, well, because da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, stop. Because fear and worry and what if putting downs are misuse of the power of imagination. Imagination is such a wonderful creative generator. So our mission, should you choose to accept it, is to create a better world by imagining what could be, and what could be, by laying aside anything that is less than the best possible world for everybody. We're not going to imagine that world. We're not going to do the worry or the fear, but just imagine that we could create, that we are creating the world we want, the world that works for everybody with our imagination. That's it. That's your mission.